In the first quarter of the 21st century, social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and several others have enabled a vast number of misinformed, ignorant, and greedy humans to pervert and corrupt countless topics that have become prominent in the modern zeitgeist. Perhaps one of the topics most affected, in a significantly negative way, is the inquiry into potential paleo-contact with extraterrestrials by our ancient ancestors. In today's pop culture, this potential paleo-contact has become known as the ancient astronaut theory. Regardless of one's thoughts about Sitchin's translations, it is an undeniable fact that he introduced to the general public the concept that the gods of the Sumerian pantheon, known as the Anunnaki, were actually the extraterrestrial progenitors of modern humans. A facet of his argument is that the Anunnaki were originally from a planet named Nibiru, which has remained undiscovered in our solar system, and it is the proliferation of a conspiracy theory concerning Nibiru that will be the focus of this presentation. The conspiracy posits that Earth is in imminent danger of a collision with Nibiru, and that the powers that be are covering it up. Over the past decade, the archive has addressed the Nibiru conspiracy several times. As with most conspiracies, the popularity of the Nibiru conspiracy ebbs and flows. The archive has endeavored to set the record straight during the times when the misinformed pop culture reaches a level of absurdity. All of our previous videos on this subject have a fundamental point. Planet Earth is in no imminent danger of a collision with Nibiru. Links to these presentations are in the description. It is ironic, to say the least, that the current version of the Nibiru conspiracy reflects a complete and total ignorance of Sitchin's timeline. Zecharia Sitchin was the first person to introduce Nibiru to the general public back in the 1970s with his best-selling book, The 12th Planet. Yet those in today's generation who endeavor to argue that there is a giant planet flying by or about to hit the Earth have likely not read a single word of the actual research presented by Sitchin. While there are a plethora of Facebook groups and YouTube videos that traffic in fear-mongering about a supposed imminent Nibiru collision, we have decided to analyze one of each. And when we look at Facebook groups, one in particular begs for a critique. With the title Nibiru is Here, this Facebook group is the poster child for ignorance, misinformation, and absurdity.
Hello everyone, this is WR and I wanted to pop in for this part of the video. I have spent several months checking out dozens of Nibiru Facebook groups, and the group titled Nibiru is Here is the one I decided to use as a case study. The following compilation of images were all collected in April 2024, with the exception of two. In image 1, we have Jenny presenting an image from her phone. She seems to be sincerely asking for feedback about her photo, but it is doubtful she will accept the explanation that it is a faint lens flare. In image 2, Shannon has provided us with visual aids to delineate her two objects of interest. She wants to know what the F is in the blue circle. Well, of course, it is simply another lens flare. Justin in image 3 wants to know how long the sun has had this many flares. Well, the simple answer, Justin, is that it has had them as long as people have pointed a lens at it. We included image 4 because it is from the group's admin, John, who apparently agrees with Justin that they have a sun simulator, whoever they are. As you can imagine, a group like this one went nuts earlier in April 2024 when the solar eclipse came around. Gina's photo in image 5 is a typical example of how people who are not familiar with celestial mechanics are baffled at the objects they observe in the sky. And images 6 and 7 are perfect examples of yet more lens flares. In image 7, Tim asks if the flare is Nibiru. No, Tim, it is not Nibiru. As we inspect image 8, we can see that Keith has gone the extra mile when it comes to finding Nibiru. Although he informs us that we do not need our imagination to see it, that is exactly what is required. In image 9, we have Janice letting everyone know that truth has to come out. Seems as though Janus is unaware that the truth about lens flares has been out a very long time. Image 10, presented by Lewis, declares Nibiru and all 7 of its moons are indeed here. Not only has Lewis isolated the location of Nibiru, but he has also provided us with a warning of our very own vaporization in the year 2060. Azrael is kind enough to alert us in Image 11 that the Nibiru system is approaching, and that it is no joking matter. You know, the archive wonders how much closer it is now after Azrael's warning in 2022. In Image 12, Frank is asking everyone what they see. This one really stumped us. No matter how closely we looked, there was no way to determine the color of that curtain. In the photo posted in Image 13, Nicole informs us that her lens flare sure does look like 2 suns to her. In Image 14, Anne gets straight to the point with letting us know about the insidious cover-up. In a show of support, Fatima responded to explain that the whole thing goes back to the flat earth theory. Finally, in Image 15, we have the group admin reposting a critical breakthrough by James. The Zetas have vested James with the knowledge of how their cloaked ship is used to focus on Nibiru. And sure enough, James provides photos of the translucent Zeta jellyfish ship. So now we're going to jump over to YouTube for the analysis of a Nibiru Conspiracy video. Just like the Facebook groups which are dedicated to this topic, there is no shortage of fear-mongering videos informing us that a giant planet is headed our way. Perhaps no other person is more suitable as a case study about the Nibiru Conspiracy than Roderick Martin. This video was streamed live on April 16, 2024. After the first 5 minutes of this presentation supposedly about Nibiru, Mr. Martin actually starts talking about Nibiru.
Maybe we can get into the context of Nibiru, right? Which is what it really is all about. And when it gets down to what is happening today. So let me chime down the music here a little bit and get you into full throttle of conversations. And let's do that right now. All right, so if you've been keeping up with the Anunnaki and the stories of that with Zecharia Sitchin, I actually got his book behind me. I meant to get it out to hold it up.
Well, first of all, his name is Zecharia Sitchin, not Zecharia Sitchin. Next, the archive wonders which of Sitchin's books he is referencing since Mr. Martin cannot even bother to get it off his shelf. And if this was not bad enough to start, after only 28 seconds of actual Nibiru content in the first 6 minutes, Mr. Martin jumps right back into promoting his own material. Unbelievably, he confronts his viewers with an admonition that they should pay at least $10 for the PDF related to the presentation as a contribution to his channel. Have a listen.
Now, the stuff that I'm going to talk about tonight is placed into, I have some contextual files and resources, and if you want those 100-page documents all about Nibiru, then I will be more than happy as a contribution to send you the PDF, as we have done in the past. This one is really good, but contributions will start around about $10, because I know some people that, I don't know how you can cash out 50 cents in a dollar, but they did, they really did. And so I'm just telling you, let's just work together on this in value or what. But whatever the value is to you tonight, definitely do that. You can support the show. You can do whatever. This show is also brought to you.
At this point, for the next minute and 4 seconds, Mr. Martin proceeds to engage in another promotion for coffee, self-care products, colloidal silver, and juices. We will save you the trouble and skip ahead.
All right, so basically, Nibiru is a hypothetical planet that is believed to exist in the orbit of Pluto, okay? It's in our solar system, so make no mistake about it, it's also known as the planet X. Now, Nibiru is believed to be a large planet, possibly as large as Jupiter. Jupiter is really big. If you go look at it, it's contextual to all the other planets when you go look at our solar system.
So he gets the potential size of Nibiru correct, but the statement that it is in the orbit of Pluto is absurd. First of all, the way he says it can lead one to believe that Nibiru is actually circling Pluto. But extending the benefit of the doubt, we will assume he meant that Nibiru was in the same orbit as Pluto around the Sun. But even this is way off the mark. Pluto's orbit is 248 years around the Sun compared to the traditional orbit of Nibiru at 3,600 years. This is a contradiction that will soon become apparent.
And it actually has a highly elliptical orbit that brings into the inner solar system every 3,600 years. And we'll get into that 3,600 years here shortly. Now, we can start out really talk about the orbit of Nibiru, and it's believed that it has a oval-shaped orbit, which is, it takes 3,600 years to complete. Now, coming into our solar system through the Sagittarius and is an anti-clockwise rotation, it will make a rotational path, which will take it between the orbits of Jupiter and the Earth. Now, we'll get deeper into that because, like I said, there are so many tall tale signs that comes to all of this. And when you are really thinking about what we're talking about, then it's another one of those things to say, okay, let's really dig deeper into this whole situation here. And I call it a situation. That's what the old folks say. And I know some of y'all are still young and you might not know what I'm talking about. But anyway, while far away from touching Earth's surface, we're talking about Nibiru here, it will be close enough to cause a dramatic weather change due to Nibiru's gravitational pull and the magnetic force, possibly, okay? So it's possibly even like it's tilting us in a few degrees of the Earth, off the Earth axis. So this thing is supposed to be so powerful that it can really cause a pole shift, what people are talking about. But then they're already saying it's already happening at some point, and then there is some evidence of stories, and stick around. We'll get into most of that tonight as well. And I'm Roderick Martin, if you're here for the first time for High Strangeness. And if you can go to get more of things that I've done, you can go to...
So here is the situation, as Mr. Martin puts it. After providing approximately a total of 3 minutes and 20 seconds of the most basic introductory facts about Nibiru in the first 10 minutes, Mr. Martin reverts to yet another 36 seconds of self-promotion. Once again, we will save you the trouble of sitting through it.
All right, back to the stove. We'll stick on a point here. Then leaving Jupiter's orbit around the sun, it shoots out our solar system. We're talking about the gravitational pull of Nibiru. And then it will take another 3,600 years for it to return, possibly as a different rotational path. Now, we're talking about the 9th planet, something called, I think it's the 9th planet. Now, I'll get into in a minute.
Astoundingly, after 25 more seconds of actual content, can you guess what Mr. Martin does? That's right, you guessed it. He is back to promoting more product. This time, he alludes to a UAP detector that you can set up in your own backyard. Man, the archive cannot wait for that to hit the shelves.
All right, so it is believed, listen to me, that it will cause days of obscurity while passing the next other planets and possibly even stopping their rotation during this transition across space to this incredible magnetic properties, okay? Now, this has everything to do with, what can I say? It has everything to do with the Anunnakis, okay? And if you're familiar with the story, and it all came from the Anunnaki tablets, if you ever heard of that. It was a Sumerian text. And basically, the tablets of the Anunnaki is a series of ancient day clay tablets that tells the story of the Anunnaki and a race to extraterrestrial beings who came to Earth from planet Nibiru, hence and forth the fucking giants, okay? Now, the tablets were discovered in the ruins of ancient Sumerian city, the city of Nibiru, back in the 19th century, and they have been translated by Zecharia Sitchin. Like I say, he got a series of books. You got to get them if you go into it. But if you really want all of this information, once again, it will be available for you. You can cash out the show and just put that you want the All About Nibiru and your email address, and I will get it to you. So let me kind of put, there you go at the top up there. So I'll keep that up there as a reminder so that you at any time feel compelled to do so.
This guy is a piece of work, huh? After going about another minute and a half with actual content, he is back asking his viewers for more money. By the way, Mr. Martin, just an FYI, it may be a good idea to learn how to pronounce Zecharia Sitchin's name if you're going to attempt to reference his material.
Now, one of the things about the tablets, they described that the Anunnaki's arrival on Earth, and they were mining gold in their creation of humans. Where I'm going with this is, we talked about the prison planet. We talked about the aliens. If you go to some of the previous videos, we've talked about all of these different things, who actually made the humans. We talk about the scriptures in the Bible. Let's make man in our image and the likeness of ourselves. It's right there in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And we talk about the implications of what's happening into society today. And if you watched News Nation yesterday, they did a story on angels and aliens in the Bible. A lot of stuff was based on Ezekiel stuff, but I'm saying there are so many fucking stories of who made us. One thing's for certain.
Incredibly, Mr. Martin enters into another promotion after only 55 seconds of content, which could be best characterized as barely tangential to Nibiru and borderline gibberish. This time, he spends over 80 seconds selling coffee to support what he calls the Black League of Alien Contact Knowledge. Keep in mind that we are approaching the halfway point of this 32-minute video, and Mr. Martin has presented about 5 minutes and 40 seconds of actual material.
Somebody got to be telling some kind of truth in what we're talking about, right? You do understand that. And therefore, it should leave you to some type of curiosity when it comes down to the stories that we've all been trained or taught when I was little, that Santa Claus was real, and that also we got Adam and Eve and Jesus born in a manger, which he could have been, and that's fine. But the fact that all of us came from two people, I have to kind of debunk that for myself right now. And hopefully you may get on the bandwagon too and know that Noah didn't put all these fucking animals, I don't know, giraffes, rhinoceros, you're talking elephants and all these things in this particular boat that was 300 feet, right? That's way on, that's over there. But he did, and we believe it, and we pass it along year after year, generation after generation. Now, these tablets of the Anunnaki are some fascinating, controversial accounts of human origin. We talk about that. And they provide a unique glimpse into the beliefs of ancient Sumerians, and they also raise the important question about our place in the universe. And I'm going to give you a little connection between the Anunnaki and Nibiru, and so that it'll set up some of the conversation and where we're going to be heading here momentarily. So I definitely want you to do that. The Anunnaki was a race, like I said, it came to Earth from planet Nibiru. According to the text. Now, they came to Earth in search of gold. I've said that. We talk about that all the time, to repair their atmosphere. And so they got enough of it and they left, but they're supposed to be coming back. Now, they created humans as miners. We were a slave race. Now, of course, according to the alien, in this particular book, she talks about that humans were this was a prison planet and our souls are here. So I don't know if there's a difference in between our souls and our bodies, and that maybe the Anunnaki created our bodies, but yet the aliens created the soul. See, again, it's all worth it. But then now we know there was all kind of species of humans, and there could have been, if you go to the theological prophecy by Samuel Chan, who's one of our guests, he's part of Project Black. He says that Chinese people and black people were brought here from other planets. So now it's like, who's feeding this narrative? But we're going to keep going deeper and keep deeper and deeper. So again, they created us to help mine. The Anunnaki was said to have left Earth around 300,000 12,000 years ago, but some believe they will return someday. So I get that all the time. I get those currents that the Anunnaki is on their way back. Some of you will hear that today, correct? Put in the chat. Yeah, they said they're on their way back. Anunnaki is going to be here. The Anunnaki is going to be here or whatever. The giants are still here. Oh, we in this. Let me give you all of it. We're in this particular dome.
During the preceding 3-minute segment, which, by the way, represents the longest promotion-free segment of content thus far, Mr. Martin gets a ton of stuff absolutely wrong. But what stands out the most is when he claims the Anunnaki left Earth 300,000 years ago. Anyone who has studied Sitchin, even just a little bit, knows this is wildly inaccurate. And of course, when he starts talking about a dome over Earth, we know exactly where this is headed. At this point, Mr. Martin drones on for over a minute about flat Earth, simulations, and even a NASA conspiracy related to the solar eclipse on April 8, 2024.
But the whole point is that Nibiru is also known as Planet X, the 12th planet. And I said earlier the 9th, but it's actually the 12th planet. And NASA doesn't call it Nibiru. They call it Planet X. For whatever reason, and I can figure out why, it's because it ties into human culture. In some cases, could be racial culture that this ties into. And why would they want to say the most biggest thing in history will be not what we think it is? So they're going to keep a scientific approach to it, and they're going to call it Planet X. And so I get it. I understand why they want to roll that way. But we, the truth seekers, we're in a whole different ball game, and we see things a little different. You know, it's a hypothetical planet, is what they're saying, Planet X, which is Nibiru. These are interchangeable tonight, okay? And that is believed to exist beyond Neptune, which is of our solar system. Now, the concept of Nibiru gained popularity from Zecharia Sitchin's books. And I have one right here on my shelf, but you should get some. The purple one, I forget the name of that one. That's the one I've been reading, 12th Planet. That's the one. But anyway, which claims that Nibiru is inhabited by a race of extraterrestrial beings called the Anunnaki. And according to Sitchin, in his book, the Anunnaki came to Earth thousands of years ago in search of gold and created us as a slave race. Plain and simple. Now, Enlil, Enki, and then I forget their sister's name, if you remember in the story, that even though they created the human race, but when they were looking to do this, the sister told Enlil and Enki, what you seek is already here, which meant from the text of that is that human beings, or maybe some Neanderthal or some type of whatever man, bipedal at this point, was already walking to Earth. We just wasn't refined to where we are today. And at that point, we weren't able to procreate either, is what the story has said. And so they gave us that point of procreating, which sex, for if there's any kids in the room.
Okay, so after butchering Sitchin's name repeatedly, not remembering which of his books he is supposedly referencing, and forgetting Ninhursag's name, Mr. Martin suddenly becomes concerned with children being in the room when he uses the word sex. This is most amusing considering he has sprinkled F-bombs throughout the presentation thus far.
All right, so other than that, there is no scientific evidence to support the existence of Nibiru or the Anunnaki. Astronomers have also searched extensively for Nibiru, but have not been able to find it, and there's no evidence of past visits to Earth by extraterrestrial beings. That's where they're still trying to stand today, right? Now, the idea has been popularized. Now, here's where we're going to go on our rabbit hole, by conspiracy theories. I'm one of them, okay? I'm into the thing, which claim that it's on a collision course with Earth. I'm still looking for the evidence of that, but would cause global catastrophe. We get people talking about that now and give you some of the signs of that in a little bit here as well. And however, there's no evidence to support those, and astronomers say that there is no threat to Earth. Of course they're going to say that. They're not going to tell us, hunk, hunk, here's the alarm. And besides, it's kind of like that movie I'm watching, the Three Body or whatever it is. But
here, once again, he goes off the rails and starts talking about reincarnation. We will fast forward through this part.
Now, after recent efforts to debunk this planet and Nibiru conspiracy theory, they have been emphasized that science itself has abandoned it, and the quest for the Planet X really kind of dimmed down, but now all of a sudden NASA is bringing it back up in the last few days. So, all right, so there's a movement if you're here. Now, let's get into the worries. Now we're going to get deep into a little more conspiratorial talk here, and what the data or the information is going to show, where people is going to be talking about it, and where we're going to go into where people are saying that one of the things is a pole shift. There's going to be a pole shift that comes from Nibiru, the cause of them coming into our gravitational pull or orbit. I will use that word. And that's where the little other stuff is already starting to happen. Now, according to the information gathered by the scientists, a pole shift is expected to occur when the planet X passes our planet. So it's not going to collide with our planet that a lot of people talk about that right now. Oh, it's going to hit Earth. It's coming in a collision course with Earth. It never did before because we're still here. And this thing is supposed to be twice, 3, 4, 5 times bigger than us and bigger power force. And so therefore crashing into Earth will probably cause a cataclysmic event. We will be gone, an extinction level event. Okay. It did cause the Great Flood, though. We'll get into that. Now, according to this, the pole shift is predicted to cause, listen to this, though, violent lightning, wind, and firestorms due to the change in Earth magnetic axis. I'm going to stop there for a moment because now I'm for to stir the pot. And I broke my little pen here. I'm going to stir the pot because violent lightning is stories that we have already heard in Hawaii. Remember all this stuff that happened recently, the Hawaiian fires and all this was caused by some type of lightning or maybe some beam or some government experiment. And that was a sign of things to come. So we can look at that. Now we're talking about wind and fire. Fire has been raging through a lot of stuff right now, but yet we've always had fire, but now people are starting to say they're reporting these things a lot more. You still got storms. You got a lot of storms that's happening. And one of the things that really goes out, as you know, we have a device, a government device, which was intended for humanity in the beginning called HAARP. You can look that up. It's an acronym, HAARP. And it's the high aurora, whatever, but it creates a signal into the atmosphere where they can actually dictate where they want it to rain, clouds, tsunamis, earthquakes, and different stuff. Additionally, the Earth land masses, okay, will shift, is what they're saying, resulting in earthquakes. Let's pause right there. So I don't live in Philadelphia. I've never had, and supposedly I have a friend that grew up there, too, as a matter of fact, that maybe is in this call tonight. And, you know, I don't really know. They are my friends, but, you know, we'll get into that later. But anyway, they grew up in Philly and then as well as New York. Now, I don't think I've ever heard of a damn earthquake in New York. And hopefully nobody's I didn't follow and start looking it up yet. I just got a bunch of text messages this morning about this. But again, if the eclipse and you're talking about the planet X, Nibiru, and what scientists are talking about, psychics are talking about, if all of this stuff is happening and starting to happen, would these signs be true? And so we would have to kind of look at all of that stuff and really find out. I'm not really sure, but we would have to know. We would really have to know. All right, so, and we're going to get deep because this shit is real.
Actually, this shit is not real. The previous 4-minute segment is in reality a conflation of naturally occurring disasters that have been present on Earth for eons. Yet he babbles on about pole shifting, lightning, fires, and earthquakes as if the current Earth weather system is being directly affected by Nibiru in current time. The only legitimate point conveyed is that Nibiru will likely not collide directly with Earth.
All right, so let's continue where we're going with this, because there's a couple of biblical things that happen in the Bible in relations to Nibiru. I'm glad you asked. I know some of y'all was going to say, Roderick, is there anything about it in the Bible? Because the Bible is true. Everything is true in the Bible. I need to know the truth. The word is the word, and it's the word. Well, throughout the history of ancient civilizations and recorded details of heavenly body known as the destroyer. Look in the Bible, the destroyer. And many believe this to be Nibiru. all right? And the biblical events such as the Great Flood and the parting of the Red Sea, all right? And the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah may have been caused by its passing. So this Bible that we talk about, that we have as a reference material to our life, or some people say the guidebook of guidebooks, and written by him and he who's omniscient, all-knowing, all-seeing, wrote this, right? And so at this point, we look at to say the truth is the truth, is it? And should we believe some of the stuff? So should we extrapolate some text from the Bible and take in our own perception and ideas based upon what we hear, or is there some truth? It's just kind of twisted, and we have to decipher through it ourselves. Now, there has been a disastrous event in Nibiru alleged to have caused in the past, and I said it again, was the Great Flood. We already know, even with the story of Anunnaki and Enlil and Enki, they were supposed to have been the ones, the dad, who said, let's just kill all these humans. And then one of the brothers had a change of heart, told Noah to build the ark, and here we are today. So the Great Flood was already there, but it wasn't an extension level event, but it was happening to wipe out these ants and roaches of humans that are allegedly there. But also having the potential to collide with Earth millions of years ago, creating what we call the asteroid belt.
This last segment speaks for itself. After a completely incoherent string of events associated with the Bible, the video abruptly ends with the mention of the asteroid belt. Then the viewer is presented with a message to watch the entire show here, and then the screen switches to an image of Mr. Martin's YouTube channel. Mind you, there are no clickable links on the screen or in the description that lead directly to what he says constitutes the entire show. There are, however, a couple of links to buy some coffee. After checking out his channel, we were unable to find what he references as the entire show related to this video. As a matter of fact, this video is not even posted on his channel, but we'll get into that in a moment. So why did the archive just spend 20 minutes analyzing Mr. Martin's video when it is painfully obvious that he really does not have a grasp of this subject matter? Well, it's because we wanted to highlight the quality of content being presented on the topic of Nibiru nowadays. As we mentioned earlier, the vast majority of Nibiru conspiracy theorists do not even know about Zecharia Sitchin and the fact that he is the one that introduced the existence of Nibiru to the pop culture. And even when they are aware of him, like Mr. Martin, they cannot even get the most fundamental tenets of the theory correct. Hell, Mr. Martin cannot even pronounce his name, yet here he is attempting to expound on Sitchin's work. We mentioned that this video is not on Mr. Martin's channel. It was actually presented on a much larger channel with which many of you are familiar, Billy C's Forbidden Knowledge channel. Why do you think Billy C put this on his channel, even though you have to believe even he was cringing at most of its content? Well, we can only guess at that answer, but it likely has something to do with what Mr. Martin was promoting, namely the Black League of Alien Contact Knowledge. And anyone who is familiar with Billy C knows he most likely admires Mr. Martin's penchant for self-promotion. Moreover, Billy C probably has zero concern about whether the material was accurate or not. But alas, we will digress from beating this thoroughly dead horse. There is, however, a much deeper question here. Why is this the situation regarding the topic of Nibiru? Well, the archive believes it has to do with the current human attention span, or should we say the lack thereof. Researchers have found that our attention spans have decreased significantly over the past 20 years. In 2004, the average attention span on any screen was 150 seconds. By 2012, it was down to 75 seconds, and now the average attention span is 8.25 seconds. Less than the attention span of a goldfish, which is 9 seconds. These stats are not only applicable to the viewers of content, but also the creators. So, when a creator is researching a script for any particular presentation, their own attention span affects the quality of said presentation. This is true of any topic, including the paleo-contact theory. The end result is a plethora of poorly researched presentations with incomplete and inaccurate information. The big problem with this phenomenon is the fact that social platforms are the primary source of information for most folks nowadays. In reality, it is the source of misinformation. So, when it comes to an esoteric topic like paleo-contact, which is already shunned by the academic community, the validity and credibility of the topic is further damaged by uninformed and poorly researched presentations such as Mr. Martin's. And this is the reason the archive has spent this much time on it. It is our hope that this analysis will break through to those of you who do have more than 8.25 seconds of attention. The Nibiru Conspiracy, for all intents and purposes, is simply a misinformed idea born out of little to no research on the topic of Nibiru. It is proliferated on social media platforms with poorly researched presentations and asinine photographs of lens flares. Most folks do not have the attention span to research for themselves, and as a result, they take these presentations and images as truth. And what we end up with is our next generation becoming more misinformed and dumber than preceding ones. When today's so-called teachers know nothing, how do you think the students will turn out? Indeed, our new digital age is a double-edged sword.